Get back to the Gemara of Chanukah. Gemara says like this. Iboy lahu. The Shiloh was asked like this. Ma lahasker shel Chanukah b'berachas hamazon. Do you mention Chanukah in benching? In other words, basically, do you say alanisim in benching? The Gemara says, what's the question? Kivim midrabanan hu lo medarchinan, because it's only rabbinic. All the other things that we mentioned in Yalav v'Yaveh, let's say, is all minatayra. Rosh Chodesh, Yom Tif. Chanukah is completely midrabanan, so maybe you should mention in benching. Eidilma mishum parsum enisa, because it's publication of the miracle, publicizing the miracle. Madarchinan, we do mention it. So this is the Gemara's question: do you say alanisim in benching or not? Amar Rav said, Amar Rav Schera, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Schera said in the name of Rav Huna like this: Eina maskir. You don't need to mention it in benching. But in Bala Haskir, if you do mention it, alanisim, maskir b'hidah, then you mention it in alakurl, in neidalcha basically. Rav Huna, but in other words, basically what Rav Huna is saying is you don't need to mention alanisim in benching because midrabanan. But if you want to, you could. But where do you put it? Not where Yalav v'Yaveh goes. Right before V'nei Yerushalayim, put it in the bracha of Neidulucha, of thanking Hashem. The Gemara is going to explain why in a minute. Okay, so the Gemara says, Rav Huna by Rav Yehuda, Ikloy lebei Rava. Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yehuda, was by Rava's house. Savelat Chore b'beini Yerushalayim. He wanted to put alanisim where he would say in Yalav v'Yaveh is, in the bracha b'beini Yerushalayim. Amar Rav Sheshes said no. You'd put it ketfila like in davening. Mat tefila haydah, just like tefila alanisim is in meidim, thanking Hashem. The same thing. Where do you put alanisim in benching? In the bracha neidalacha, which means thanking Hashem. And Taisus explains why is that? Because alanisim is not really a tefila. Alanisim doesn't ask for anything. Alanisim is telling Hashem, thank you for the miracle that you did. So therefore, it should be like a meidim in the Shemoneh Esrei. So it also should be in benching in neidalacha. That's where, by the way, the halacha is, we do mention it, but if you don't have to repeat it. Even Purim when there's a mitzvah to eat. Okay, then the Gemara says like this. We know Rosh Chodesh meaning Yalav v'Yaveh. Yalav v'Yaveh in davening you have to say, right? Rosh Chodesh. What about in benching? You have to say Yalav v'Yaveh in benching. So it says like this. Intem Salem Chanukah Drabanan Leitzarich. If you say, okay, Chanukah doesn't need to mention alanisim because it's rabbinic. But Rosh Chodesh deraisa. But the Rosh Chodesh is in the Torah. Rosh Chodesh is min ha-Torah. So maybe tzarich. You do have to. Oy Dilma. Kivin the loyaseh b'asiyas malacha. Rosh Chodesh is not forbidden to do work. So leimaskini we don't mention, because if you look at all the other things in Yalav v'Yaveh, are all days you're not allowed to do work. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot. It's all days you're not allowed to do work. So maybe from one side we should say mention Chanukah because Yalav v'Yaveh Rosh Chodesh in benching because it's min ha-Torah. Maybe not, because it's not a day forbidden to do work. So the Gemara says like this. What's the halacha, so to speak? So the Gemara says like this. Rav Amar Maskir. Rav says you do say Yalav v'Yaveh in benching. Rav Chanina Amar Eina Maskir. Rav Chanina says you don't mention Yalav v'Yaveh in benching. Amar Rav Zrika said, Nekait Rav b'Yodcha. If you want to know which opinion is right, Rav is the correct opinion that you do mention it. Why? The Kabi Rabbi Kavasi, because Rabbi learned to Bryce it says exactly like Rav that you do mention Yalav v'Yaveh on Rosh Chodesh. The Tani Rabbi said like this: Yamim sheyesh b'am korban musaf. It says days that there's a korban musaf. Kagain Rosh Hashanah, Chol HaMoed, Arba, Shachris, and Mincha, Mispal Shemoneh Esrei, v'Eimer Me'ein Amura ba'Aveda. Any day there's musaf, you mention Yalav v'Yaveh in all the Shemoneh Esreis. Im lo yamar, if you didn't say Yalav v'Yaveh, machzir neisei. You have to repeat, except Rosh Chodesh at night, which is for a different reason. Ve'ein b'hem kedusha lakos. And you don't make Kiddush on a cup. Not Rosh Chodesh, not Chol HaMoed. You don't make Kiddush. But v'yesh bohem askara bebirchas hamazon. But you do have a mention of Chanukah and Purim in birchas hamazon. So the Brisa says exactly like Rav says, that you mention Yalav v'Yavai al Rosh Chodesh in benching. But he says like this: Yomim she'ein b'hem korban musaf, on a day that there's no korban musaf, like Monday, Thursday, fast days, Mamad Sheni Chamishi, then you don't do it. Okay. Okay, that's what the Gemara rules with pearl. So the Gemara says Rav is correct that you mention Yalav v'Yavai in the benching of Rosh Chodesh. We learned already the halacha is, when do you have to repeat Yalav v'Yavai in benching? In benching, when would you have to repeat Yalav v'Yavai or not? So the answer is very simple. In a time where there's a mitzvah to eat, then if you left out Yalav v'Yavai, you have to repeat the benching.
Like
1 second. If there's no mitzvah to eat, then you don't repeat. Which is a very interesting thing. Rosh Chodesh in benching, if you forgot Yalav v'Yavai, you don't repeat the benching. Why? Because there's no mitzvah to eat a Suda, a washing Suda on Rosh Chodesh. Not only that, the Alter Rebbe in the Siddur, if you look in the Siddur, it says that Rosh Hashanah day, if you forgot Yalav v'Yavai, you don't have to repeat the benching. Rosh Hashanah day. Why? So it says in Shulchan Aruch, because many people fast the first day of Rosh Hashanah. If many people fast the first day of Rosh Hashanah, so then there's no mitzvah to eat. If there would be a mitzvah to eat, they wouldn't be allowed to fast. The fact that many people have a minhag to fast the first day of Rosh Hashanah shows that there's no mitzvah to eat on Rosh Hashanah. Therefore, if you forget Yalav v'Yavai in benching on Rosh Hashanah day, not at night, day, you don't have to repeat the benching. If you forgot it Rosh Hashanah night when there is an obligation to wash, so then you would have to repeat the benching. We mentioned what's there's a very interesting tshuva in Rabbi Akiva Eiger. In fact, it's the first tshuva in Tshuvas Rabbi Akiva Eiger. He writes an interesting halacha, but most people disagree with him. He proves in many places that women are not mechuyev to eat bread on Yom Tov. They're not mechuyev. The Sudas Yom Tov to wash it. Everything men are mechuyev in. Women are not mechuyev. So therefore, Rabbi Akiva Eiger writes that women who forget Yalav v'Yavai and benching Yom Tov, they don't have to repeat the benching. But we don't paskin like him. Most paskin disagree, and you have to bench. What?
It seems backwards to say that because people do this, so that's the halacha. Isn't it?
What do you mean? People do this?
People fast.
No, because Halachos says you're allowed to fast. Halachos says you. No, people fast meaning Halachos says you're allowed to fast for Rosh Hashanah. No, it's not. People do think that, yeah, we changed the whole religion. No, it means because Allah says people have a minhag of fasting on Rosh Hashanah, so most people don't. But the fact that there is a halacha that you're allowed to fast for Rosh Hashanah day shows that there's no chiyuv to eat a meal. If there's no chiyuv to eat a meal, then you don't have to repeat the bench.
Okay, only girls, no?
Huh? No, that was Orach Chaim HaKadosh had only girls. Rashi had only girls. In fact, the Pirush Orach Chaim and Chumash, the famous Orach Chaim and Chumash, no, it's not for girls. He learned Chumash with his daughters because he didn't have any sons, so he couldn't learn Gemara with the girls, so he learned Chumash with the girls. And when he was learning Chumash with the girls, he came up with his commentary, Orach Chaim. So Orach Chaim HaKadosh wrote his commentary on Chumash was when he was learning Chumash with his daughters. That's it, but the Rashi had 5 daughters also. I mean, there are many people that have only daughters, but I'm saying from... Okay, next. Okay, go back a little bit early in the Gemara. There's an interesting Gemara here. Okay. Itmar, there's an argument between Rav and Shmuel. It's a famous argument between Rav and Shmuel in the Gemara. Are you allowed to light... Okay, let's see it inside. Rav said, Ei madlikin ner miner. You're not allowed to light one Chanukah candle from the next. You can't light one Chanukah candle from the next candle. Shmuel Amar Madlikin. Shmuel says you are allowed to. Rav Amar, the same interesting machlekes between Rav and Shmuel. Ei matir and tzitzis mi beged lebeged. Rav holds, if you have an old tzitzis, old garment, and you wanted the tzitzis though are good. Now, according to Rav, you're not allowed to take off those tzitzis and put them into a new garment. Because they were designated for this garment, they can't go for any other garment. Shmuel Amar, matir mi beged lebeged. You're allowed to take tzitzis from one garment to the next. Rav Amar ein halacha b'kerab Shimon b'greira. Rav says that there's an argument. Okay, we'll just start it. There's an argument between Rab Shimon and Rab Yehuda. If halacha ein miskaven, if something unintentional is allowed or not. Okay, let's say just to speak in modern day language, you're not allowed to cause bleeding on Shabbos. Okay, so what happens if I floss my teeth and by mistake they bleed? So this is not a problem. When is it a problem? It's called psikresha, which means if it's for sure going to bleed, then you're not allowed to floss your teeth on Shabbos because you can definitely cause it to bleed. You can't say it's unintentional. Begreira actually means schlepping. The original machlekes is you're not allowed to plow a field. Now what happens if I schlep a table on the ground, not on earth, on dirt? I don't want to make holes in the ground, therefore I don't want to do plowing. Is it allowed or not? So Rab Shimon says yes, Rab Yehuda says no. So Rav paskins like Rab Yehuda, and Shmuel paskins like Rab Shimon. Okay. Amar Abaye said like this: Komili demar avid kerav, or my master Rabba would do everything like Rav, b'chlal, always like Rav. Levar mahani tlas to avid kishmul. Except these three, he did like Shmuel. But Rashi says, like Rabbi Bar Nachmani, what it means like this. Normally, when there's an argument in the Gemara, Rav and Shmuel, the rule is like this. When it's monetary issues, the halacha is like Shmuel, because he was the expert in monetary issues. If it's Isser, Mammonis. Mammon. Now, what happens in Isser V'Heter, meaning is something allowed or not allowed, that the halacha is always like Rav. I mean, as a general rule. Halacha Rav Ki Isura and halacha Shmuel B'Mameina. Okay.